Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us today, this afternoon. We are going to give it another minute or two. I appreciate your patience. We just want to make sure that we have a few more folks in the Zoom room before we get started, but the session is being recorded. So if you have to duck out early or need to refer back to it, just know that you will have that option. But we do want to be respectful of everybody's time. So we are really excited to present this webinar for the first time. It's a welcome to MACAC webinar. So whether you are freshly new to the organization or if you've been around for a little while, but just wanted a refresher on all the different committees that MACAC has, all the different ways that we contribute to the world of college success and access and post-secondary options for students in our state. This is a really great kind of overview refresher of all the different ways that you can get involved. We have amazing committees that are involved in pretty much every facet of this work, connecting students to post-secondary options. So if you have an interest in being involved in anything from communications to professional development, membership, inclusion, access and success, and more, you'll learn a little bit more about what these committees do. Important contacts if you want to reach out to folks to get involved. And hopefully many of you will be joining us at our annual conference a week from tomorrow in Detroit. And you can learn even more about what we do and how to get involved. So I am going to get started. We'll hear from representatives from each of our committees and executive board positions as a little bit of an overview introduction to what we do. And if you have questions at the end, please feel free to raise your hand, to throw it in the chat to let us know. We want to connect you to the information that you need. So I am going to, I should introduce myself actually before we dig in. My name is Sam Justra. I am your current secretary of MACAC for the next week. You'll hear a little bit more about that from me in just a little bit. But I'm going to kick it over to John Johnson, our current or our president-elect, to share a little bit more about that role within MACAC.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name again is John Johnson. I am president-elect of MACAT for another week or so, I guess. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. It is such an honor and pleasure to serve in this position as MACAT's president-elect, but it's also an honor and pleasure to see all of you who have shown interest in MACAT. In the next few years, our goal is to grow our membership, to grow participation in our membership, and really just grow programming and opportunities for connections and college access programming throughout the entire organization. So I'm really excited to see so many new people who are interested in MACAT, and I'm also excited to see my executive board and our chairs of each of the committees so graciously giving so much of their time and energy to making MACAT the success it has been and beyond. I am not going to hold up the conversation for very long or whatever. I just wanted to say welcome to MACAT, and that I hope you will join us next week for our exciting annual conference, which is happening March 18th through the 20th, the kickoff of our Urban Counselors Workshop, which is going to happen on March 18th. We're really excited. This is actually going to be one of the biggest conferences that we've had. It's going to be in Detroit, Michigan at the Motor City Casino. Attendance and reservations have been like huge, to say the least. We have so many people that are interested, and we have so many new exciting workshops and programs, as well as our keynote speaker, who is Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist, who will give like an amazing presentation around like what the current administration is doing around college access. So hope to see you all there. And if you do see me there, come see me, give me a hug, give me a high five, or just say hi. I'm excited to meet all of you and to work with all of you over the next few years. So that's all that I have, and then I'll stay on board if you guys have any questions, and we will go from there. Thank you so much, Sam, for putting this together.
Yeah, thank you so much, John. I've got another slide a little bit later on about annual conference. So you covered a lot just then. If you feel like there's anything that you missed that you want to say later, just know that you'll have that chance too. So I'm going to kick it over to the secretary cycle. So hello again. Like I said, my name is Sam, and I am your current MACAC secretary. So our executive board roles that you saw from John's previous slide and what you see in front of you today is that many of these roles have are part of a 3-year cycle. So I'm your current secretary. Our colleague Andrea from GVSU is our secretary-elect, and Hannah Reed is our immediate past secretary. So in just about a week after conference, I will move into the immediate past secretary role, and we'll continue cycling. This is a pretty straightforward role. Secretary takes minutes at all of the executive board meetings. We have several e-board meetings throughout the year, typically once a quarter, and usually we'll have one in the fall at the national, the NACAC conference. So wherever that is, we'll make sure to convene anyone who is there in person together, as well as Zoom folks in to still be part of that e-board meeting around NACAC. So we'll take meeting minutes and disseminate those out to the group afterwards. And if you have questions, it's a great way, I think, to get involved in MACAC. If you want to learn a little bit more about the inner workings of the organization as a whole, because you get to see pretty much everything being a part of those e-board meetings and make contacts and kind of keep everyone updated on all the goings on. So I really loved it because it felt like a good entree for me to get involved more at the executive level. So if you're interested in becoming secretary or you're curious to learn a little bit more, please feel free to connect with me or my colleague, Andrea. Now I'm going to kick it over to the treasurer cycle to hear from both of our Travises.
Hey everyone, glad to have you here. My name's Travis Sloter from Saginaw Valley State University, the current treasurer here. So glad to be able to tell you more about the exciting world of budgeting. Yeah, it is riveting, but it's an awesome opportunity. So going into this, I have zero experience with budgeting and anything besides, my own home finances. Never used any sort of tracking software before and barely wrote checks. And so this is a great way for anybody to be able to begin honing those skills, especially if you seek growing in your career. You're going to have to learn how to do a budget for your office and all that type of stuff. So I think it's a great opportunity. Some of the main responsibilities we do are just tracking and keeping a report going actively of what the organization brings in for revenue and what we spend in our expenditures, and being able to share that out quarterly with our executive board. So it's a great way to just keep us accountable on what we have going on here. And so I'll pass it over to Travis as well. Travis has taken over the treasurer cycle to be able to explain what he anticipates doing for his next portion as treasurer-elect.
Yeah, well, I want to start off and say that is a requirement. You do have to be named Travis if you want to be a treasurer. So that's the toughest part, really. No. So to piggyback off of what Travis was saying, I also didn't have a ton of experience with finances and things like that. So that's really the tough part as far as getting people interested in being the treasurer. I think that's a hurdle that we have to overcome, is just letting people know that you don't have to be any sort of an expert on finances to do this. It's a really great way to get involved and kind of see, really be in the weeds with like the back end of what's going on with MACAC and what everyone's doing. And you're not there to make 1,000 decisions on what we should spend and what we shouldn't spend. You're really there to kind of track what people are spending and, give your input here and there. But for the most part, you're just tracking things and reporting them out and making sure that, we're staying, afloat, and hopefully, like we've done this last year, really increased our revenue and done, been stewards of MACAC. And so it's not really extremely difficult. And I'm looking forward to kind of continuing what Travis has done. And we've got another treasurer-elect, coming up, or an election coming up this next week. And so, we're excited to pass that information on to that next person as well. And so, yeah, I'm excited.
Thank you both so much. And I know I'm really, really excited, honestly, about the direction that MACAC is going in. I mean, in terms of our finances and what we're able to do, we're in such a good place. And it took a little while, right, to get there, but over the last couple of years, especially, the things that we're going to be able to do, the money that we can invest, and you've seen it already, I think, in a lot of ways. really, really exciting time to be part of the organization. So I'm gonna advance a little bit to admissions practices and invite Judy to come on off mic.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is such a great idea that was put together by PD. I think it's inaugural. Is that correct, Sam? For us all to gather, but it's a great way for everyone to find what they're interested in becoming involved in, because there's something for everybody. So I currently chair the Admission Practices Committee, and I, just as way of background, I'm a college counselor at Detroit Country Day, and I also worked at a large public school for many, many years. But today, like I said, I come to you as the chair of the Admission Practices Committee. So this committee is responsible for educating MACAC membership and counseling just the community at large about our guide to ethical practices in college admission. But I think to understand our committee is to go back a bit in history to see where we were and a little bit about how we got here. So we were previously, this committee, the APC, we shorten it, it was previously tasked with managing conflicts, which compromised any kind of ethical standards as stated in our previous NACAC Code of Ethics. And our committee would receive possible infractions and then serve to contact to resolve issues with these individuals, whether they were at the college side or whether they were on the high school side with students, and then work with those individuals and come to a reasonable and fair resolution. But it was all guided by this Code of Ethics. And as many of you know, in 2019, the Department of Justice launched an investigation into allegations that at the national level, we were violating antitrust laws with this Code of Ethics that we also adopted and followed. They thought that our provisions in this code inhibited competition, basically, for colleges was for students. So NACAC got together, they conducted a delegate vote at the 2019 conference, and a motion was passed that basically stripped provisions from our Code of Ethics as it was once known. And we're now guided by a new title. It's the Guide to Ethical Practice in College Admission. And so our work is continuing, but just in a nuanced way. It's based more largely on educating and instead of punitive, as per our previous guide. So what our committee does is we meet periodically and we discuss possible ways that we can put together educational initiatives, trends around ethical practices in college admission. So the goal this year was to get it up and running, to provide and facilitate possible presentations, to provide resources to counselors and both new and seasoned college admission folks. And based on trends that we see in our region, then I report out to the national level at NACAC and suggest possible changes to the guide at the national level. So while our committee is very small in size, it's currently just me. I do have several big initiatives in mind, including both resources for this educational piece, which is still, so we still exist, but we're just in a different format. So stay tuned. I've got exciting things to add. And then, as I mentioned, as chair, then the duties expand beyond the state level, where I sit in on at the national level with all the other APC chairs from all the other affiliates, and we talk about updates. So I bring all of the issues or concerns from our state, and then we gather, and it's things like new language that's pertaining to access and equity, or providing accurate data on a school profile or something like that. So I welcome any new members to this committee to join me. The drive is to make sure our membership's aware of all different resources to help them navigate sometimes, unethical situations or conflicts. They still exist. I think people thought, well, what are we going to do now? Well, those situations still exist, but we just have to provide guidance instead of, a punitive way of conflict resolution, and offer more sorts of support and guidance, along with following our new guide to ethical practice in college admission. So that's the committee in a nutshell, but I would welcome anybody and everyone to join the committee and help us sort of re-envision and reimagine how this would look. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Judy. That was so comprehensive and really, really important work, especially as we all know, the landscape of college admissions changes so much year to year, especially over the last few years. So we're going to be engaging with a lot of really big, important questions about the future of the application process, and the antitrust issues are always top of mind as things change every single year. So I appreciate you. I'm going to pitch in really quickly to talk a little bit about advancement. So this is interesting because at the moment, we have an opportunity similar to what Judy was saying with admissions practices, but an opportunity to kind of reimagine or really re-envision what advancement looks like for MACAC. So some of the big kind of signature tasks that the Advancement Committee has been tasked with are soliciting sponsorship for MACAC programs, especially our Maggie Miller Scholarship. This is a really important scholarship that was named for a former and really beloved counselor in our community and MACAC member. And every year we have a scholarship review process for students that write essays, and they apply for this scholarship to really help them achieve their post-secondary dreams. We also have an auction as part of our annual conference, which is a little bit of a segue into the next slide, where proceeds from that auction also go toward the Maggie Miller Fund and scholarship. So there's a lot that we want to do to really reinvest in our community, and just another way of helping students connect to those post-secondary options and their dreams of fulfilling that, whatever that looks like for them. So there, like I said, is an opportunity now, if this is something you're interested in, sponsorships, fundraising, this is an opportunity to get in and really re-envision what advancement can look like as part of MACAC. Now, I am going to kick it back to John, because one thing that you'll notice is that for incoming, president-elects, they automatically are co-chairs of the annual conference, which is why John has been so involved in putting together this conference that's happening next week. So John, if you don't mind, I'm going to kick it back to you. If you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit more about the different subcommittees of the annual conference committee, all the different ways that a person might be able to be involved. I actually happen to be on this committee on a couple different subcommittees, communications, for example. But John, if you're here, I'd love for you to share maybe a couple more words on ways that you can get involved specifically on the annual conference committee.
Yeah, so the annual conference is a huge task, and I can tell you walking in or whatever, I thought I was just going to be able to do it all by myself. But it is impossible. It is literally impossible to do it all by yourself, which is why we have so many different subcommittees. Again, everything from communications, advancement, so someone who oversees like our Maggie Miller Scholarship, that is also announced. We also have media and media relations. There's also programming, someone who oversees like the different workshops and breakout sessions. We have someone who does the past president's reception. Someone who also oversees, my brain is going dead. Past president's reception, our annual program where we go out and we do social events during the conference as well too. So social committee, wow, it's so many different committees. I'm losing track of how many it is or whatever. But there's tons of different opportunities or whatever that you can get involved within the annual conference. And then we also just have individuals who's just a member at large who really kind of just circulates between each of the committees and support in every capacity necessary. We also have like the annual tour that we do. So this year our tour is going to be at Wayne State University, and we have a team that facilitates that as well too. It's a variety of different moving parts. So again, it's such a huge event or whatever, so any interest that you have or any type of skill set you had could be useful in making this event happen, because it's such a vast event that covers so many different components as well too. Also with the annual conference, as I mentioned before, it's going to be March 18th through the 20th at the Motor City Casino in Detroit, Michigan. We're really excited about the location. I had already mentioned our keynote speaker is Garland Gilchrist, Lieutenant Governor for the state of Michigan. But we also have this year a panel discussion in honor of Women's History Month. So we have like Brandy Johnson, who is the founder of MCAN and the president of the Michigan College Association, Michigan Community College Association. We also have Danielle Jackson, who is the president and CEO of Detroit 9090 and University Prep Schools, as well as our own Dr. Vanessa Williams, who is the new director of the Michigan Hispanic Collaborative or whatever. So it should be an amazing panel discussion. And I'm actually really looking forward to that as well too. And as I mentioned before, we have a ton of breakout sessions that will be happening. I actually see some of our breakout people here at the session. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys and your workshops and your breakout sessions as well too. It's going to be an amazing event. And again, I hope you all are able to join. And if not this year, I hope you're able to join for the annual conference committee for next year. Again, it's a huge task. And after we take a week off and we breathe and we collect ourselves, we'll be starting the planning for next year. And we would love to have you in that committee as well too.
Thank you so much, John. I appreciate that. And what you said just now also reminded me of an important point, which is that annual conference it's been in March every year, right around this time. The day has changed a little bit, but the location also changes every year. So this is the first time I actually don't know how long that it's going to be in Detroit, which I'm so excited about, but we try to rotate the location throughout the state every year so that, we want to make it as equitable as possible to make sure folks from all the different corners of Michigan can come. So last year it was in Grand Rapids. The prior year it was in Rochester. It was actually virtual the year before that because of COVID. So we try to move it around, we'll be in Lansing some years. So joining the committee now means you get to be part of those early conversations of identifying where the conference is going to be next year, ideas you have, what you want that to look like, how we can reach as many folks as possible is exciting too. So I am going to now kick it over to Lauren to talk about some really, really exciting developments in the world of college fairs. This is something that has been really exciting. Lauren in particular has put in so much work into this, so I'm excited to hear more about the growing and evolving college fairs committee.
Hi, everyone. Sam, thanks so much for the introduction. For those who don't know me, my name is Lauren Penner. I'm the assistant director over at University of Michigan Dearborn. I got my start in MACAC with working with the college fairs. At the time, it was just, we had a Detroit Metro National College Fair and the West Michigan National College Fair Committee. And we primarily ran those two large national college fairs for the state. So if those on the call have been to the national college fairs before, or if you haven't had the chance to, I highly recommend, if your university or your school does attend those large fairs, to take part in those. We are unique in the state of Michigan that we have two national college fairs within our state on the west side, as well as here in Metro Detroit. The Michigan College Fairs, though, committee overall is the overall committee with the Metro Detroit National College Fair, as well as the West Michigan National College Fair Committee kind of wrapped in. So those are two subcommittees underneath the Michigan College Fair Committee. This past year, actually, it was about 2 years ago, we started the process of streamlining the college fair process here in the state of Michigan with having a statewide calendar, working with schools and districts to work together to have larger, more comprehensive fairs. Additionally, we brought on a fee structure and a registration process for the fairs for the representatives. Therefore, we could also bring in some revenue on the back end for MACAC to utilize for sending back into our host sites, giving back to our students. So there is a good chunk of the revenue for MACAC that's coming in from the Michigan College Fair Committee. So we're very proud of that. In regards to time commitment and things like that, with the Michigan College Fair Committee overall, it's going to be cyclical. So right now, actually, as the MACAC conference is going to be wrapping up at the end of next week, we will be gearing up to open up our requests for the fall 2024 and spring 2025 calendar, which means we do build the college fair calendar a year in advance. It allows for schools to plan on their fiscal calendars, as well as the host sites to have their dates set well in advance prior to their summers off and things like that, especially if hosted at high school. Then we open up once the calendar is set around mid-May. We do open up on June 1st for the registration for the representatives that will be tabling at the events. So with this, it is cyclical, right? So it'll slow down a little bit in the summer, and then it'll kick back up in the fall once the fairs get started. Additionally, at that same time, we're narrowing down dates for the Metro Detroit National College Fair, which this year is on April 25th, and also the West Michigan National College Fair, which this year is on April 23rd. So those committees kind of get kicked into high gear at usually around January leading up to those fairs. So right now we're kind of in the thick of it, dealing with those setups and things like that for the ones this April, and then those will kind of kickstart again next January once we have those dates set in stone. It is a lot of work for the college fairs, and that is due to it being a hands-on, much more of a hands-on committee. There's a lot of day of attending the national college fairs, being boots on the ground for those events. So there is additional tasks outside of just like committee meetings and discussions and things like that, but we do have those regular committees as well. So yeah, we would love to have additional help and support along the way, whatever way you would like to support. As I mentioned, I started in this role. I was just the hospitality chair for the Metro Detroit committee, and I just picked out the menu for the Metro Detroit Fair, but it has blossomed into now chairing the overall committee and still working with Metro Detroit and West Michigan. I will see you at the West Michigan and the Metro Detroit. If you are there, I will be at both. And I also did a stint in the secretary cycle as well. So was there before just before Sam and Hannah came through. So if there's any questions or anything along the way, happy to answer them, and look forward to each of you being involved in some way or another through MACAC.
Thank you so much, Lauren. We're so excited for those college fairs later this spring. And if you are planning on attending anyway, something you were going to go for your own professional development as a representative from your school to help students, I would definitely recommend considering joining the committee, or at the very least, like Lauren said, there's so many opportunities for hands-on, on the ground help and support just to make sure that the event goes smoothly, because fortunately there are hundreds and hundreds of students that we're able to facilitate as part of those fairs. So a lot of opportunities for support. I am going to advance now and talk, oops. Here we go. Oh, I just realized that communications, oh, I'm a little bit ahead of myself. Okay, so I don't, Susanna is not here, but Hannah, do you mind if I pitch it to talk about communications?
Yeah, go for it. So Susanna, there's been one of the interesting things you'll find with MACAC is that there's, a lot of people transitioning roles. Susanna has been very involved in communications in the past, and she's trying to kind of step back a little bit. So we're looking at having the past secretary become the chair of the communications committee moving forward. We have to get it past the bylaws. So that's a project we're working on. But essentially, we're doing all this great work. If no one knows about it, then we're not doing a great job, right? So the goal of the communications committee is to make sure that all of the wonderful things happening on all of these committees are getting pushed out regularly and clearly to our members. And so one of the ways we do that is email. And so Teresa Cry, who's our amazing executive assistant, does a lot of support with just communicating that stuff out via email. And then in partnership with her, we work to make sure everything gets out via social media. So we have very active accounts on both Instagram and Facebook. Our Twitter has been a little quieter since the Twitter controversy, but our Instagram and Facebook are very active. So that's a great place to check if you just want, if you're just like, what's happening, what's going on, those are great places to check. And that's just a fun, Sam and I work on that. We've just taught ourselves how to use Canva. if you're the kind of person that's on social media a lot personally, it's very easy to do that kind of stuff for MACAC. And so just kind of a fun way to play around with graphics and getting messaging out to the community. And then we also have newsletters that come out on a quarterly basis. That's something that Susanna has really been the champion of. And then our website. So our website is constantly being developed. We have a few people that are really involved in that right now and excited about it. If you're someone that has a passion for websites, we would love to hear from you. It's obviously a lot of work to keep that all updated and looking clear so that people can find what they're looking for. So you don't have to have a background in communications at all. You don't have to be someone that's savvy. We just want people that are willing to spend a little bit of time supporting getting the great word about MACAC out to the world. So happy to have more people join us and happy to chat if anyone has questions. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Yes, if you could look at any of our Instagram posts and you see like the explosion of Canva posts, that's me like recently discovering how to use it, and I just went a little nuts with it. But actually, I'm really glad that you mentioned bylaws, because that's a great segue. I'm gonna take this on as well to talk a little bit about governance. Sarah Gammons, our current chair of the governance committee, can't be here today, but she plays a really, really important role. I mean, in so many ways at MACAC. You'll remember she's the immediate past president, but also when it comes to governance, there are very strict kind of guides and rules that we have to abide by when we're making any changes to like the makeup of MACAC or the organization, or excuse me, the committees, the organization, the flow. So we want to make sure that we're in accordance with those bylaws, that we kind of dictate how we're able to run as this professional organization. So when we're talking about like even the advancement committee, going back to earlier, where that committee might live, if we've started to have conversations or questions about, well, can that be part of part of one committee, or we've had conversations about how the professional development and membership committees might be able to work together. Any ideas we have for things like that, we have to make sure that they're in accordance with the bylaws, or we can go back and kind of make changes to those bylaws. So it's really important work. But you also might know of Sarah from any communications regarding elected positions. Of course, we're kind of in the thick right now of that election process to bring in new folks. Many of you, might be interested in some of these roles we're talking about, but soliciting, recruiting members to fill these positions is a really, really important part of this job as well. So reviewing those candidates, the applications, the selection process to keep these committees going is really, really important. So if you're interested in that, kind of helping the actual professional organization function the way that it needs to, I think this is a really, really important role. I'm going to pitch it now to Adana to talk a little bit about government relations, which is different than governance, and you'll see why in just a moment.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I am one of the co-chairs for the Government Relations Committee, and we're actually having an event tomorrow in partnership with MCAN, Macro, and a couple of other organizations. And so what we do, we have some legislative priorities. We have a couple of bills that passed the House, but kind of died in the Senate. So we're trying to revive them, especially tomorrow. We're trying to revive them. And so, for example, one of the bills is to take the MME/SAT off of the transcript, because some schools, although they are test optional, they'll still look at the exam, and that could be a detriment for our students when applying to the university, and also with the awarding of scholarships. And another one of our priorities is making the FAFSA completion mandatory. There are several opt-out options. However, if this is made a requirement for everyone, then some students have no idea of the scholarship or financial aid money that is available and accessible to them. And so we just want to ensure that students that want to pursue post-secondary education are afforded the opportunity to. So we're always looking for new members of our committee to help with that. As mentioned, we have Advocacy Day tomorrow. We have had another instance a few months ago in which a couple of us were able to go and present our ideas in front of the Senate Education Committee. And we also accept ideas if there are other bills that you would like to help author that we can submit to the House and then the Senate. And that completes my spiel.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is really, really important work. And I think such a great demonstration of how, you know, sometimes people think, yeah, well, like, what difference could I make? Or I have all these ideas, but what are the chances that something could actually come of it? I mean, the fact that you can, and anyone can be a part of Advocacy Day, right? You don't have to just be on the Government Relations Committee, but the fact that you can actually, you know, lobby politicians and present ideas and have conversations with people who will listen and take these considerations, you know, or take these thoughts into consideration as they're making laws to affect the students that we work with is really, truly amazing. And I never want to, I never want that to be too understated, because we have such an opportunity to make real change in the state. And Michigan has unique challenges and opportunities that, you know, you might not find in other places. So to be able to have a voice in that, I think is really, really incredible. So you don't have to have a background in law, right, or policy. I think essentially you just have to have an innate desire to want to really advocate for students and for the profession. So I'm really, really grateful for everything that you do on that committee. And now I'm going to kick it over to Stacy to talk a little bit about Inclusion, Access, and Success Committee, all the different initiatives that this committee sponsors, including one that you've heard about a couple of times already. That's coming up next week.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Stacy Hickman Jackson. And yes, I am one of the chairs of the Inclusion, Access, and I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought that quick. Inclusion and Access and Success Committee. And so there are two committees, as Sam just mentioned. There is the Camp College, and Kristen is the chair of that one. Camp College is an interactive and informative college planning workshop for 9th through 12th graders. This workshop serves underrepresented and underserved populations, and the goal is to encourage them to consider college as a post-secondary option for them. It is free and is generally held in various camp colleges and universities throughout the state of Michigan. And so we definitely encourage you to encourage your students to attend. And that will be coming up at the end of the school year, closer to like June, is typically when Camp College is held. Last year was at Henry Ford. I'm not sure of the location this year, but I'm guessing it's going to be the same place. But it's a great opportunity to engage your 9th or 11th graders in discerning their post-secondary options. I am the chair of the Urban Counselor Workshop, so I'm a little tongue-tied because I've been talking Urban Counselor Workshop for about 6 months now. So I seem to know just UCW right now, but yes, we are having our conference next Monday, and I do hope you all are registered to attend. As John Johnson indicated, it's going to be a blast. We've worked hard to promote this because we wanted it to be pretty much seamless between Urban Counselor and the annual conference. So hopefully you'll be able to do all 3 days. We know that's a lot, but coming to the D, we really wanted to make it as big as possible. So next week, Monday this time, I'll be speaking before you again, and probably tongue-tied then as well. So just bear with me. But we do have an exciting day planned, and we do hope to see you all there. Urban Counselor Workshop is to highlight what counselors do to provide PD for counselors in gaining, strategies and techniques and working with their students, expanding opportunities to get together and network with counselors from all over and non-counselors, because we do have a group of people who are not necessarily counselors, but are interested in what we're doing and helping us find ways to service our students. Being K-12 counselors, we look at the gamut. We don't focus on K-8 or just high school. We look at K-12. So we're bringing in people from all different areas to work with us and to help us and to guide us in, various trends, if you will, or just new strategies. And so I'm excited about it. We are again at Motor City, and it's going to be a fun-filled, pretty active day. So again, want to thank you all and hope you are interested in joining. You just need to say, I will, and you're in. So I'm also recruiting for Urban Counselor as well as Camp College. Thank you all, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you so much, Stacey. And the IAS committee does so much more important work too, even beyond those two signature programs. For example, MACAC now has a like a land acknowledgement that we are incorporating into presentations that we do no matter where we are in the state, whatever the event is. And that was completely kind of drawn up and finalized by the IAS committee. Incredibly important work. So any and everything, I think, related to having that equity and inclusion lens, whether it's within MACAC or those external programs, is really, really, really important. So I appreciate you sharing that, and very, very excited for UCW on Monday. I'm going to talk briefly about international initiatives on behalf of our colleague Alex Smith, who couldn't be here today as well. This is also it tends to be a smaller committee, but if you're someone who is interested in, again, the unique opportunities and challenges that might come with recruiting international students to the US, to a particular institution, this is a really important committee that, does a lot of research into those trends, that addresses the needs of international students, knowing that their application and admission process in many ways looks a little bit different than it might for a domestic student. So making sure that we have best practices in place to serve those students, that we're fully aware of, policy changes and shifts and trends with regard to, on the broader landscape, what it looks like for international students to be coming to school in the States. So really important work to be done if you have a specific interest in admissions, recruitment, particularly working with international students. This is a really great committee to join as well. And I know Alex would be more than happy to talk to anyone about it. I know he's bummed he couldn't be here today. I am also going to talk about the membership committee. I don't know that I saw the co-chairs at the moment, so I'm happy to dive in and talk a little bit about this. After membership, I'll talk about PD, and you'll see a little bit the really important ways that these two committees overlap and seek to work together. Membership is incredibly important because it's really kind of like the front door to MACAC, thinking creatively about ways that we can expand our membership. So we're really proud, really excited this year to have been able to welcome just about 300 or so new school counselors to MACAC through this sponsorship. So that is an unbelievable initiative that allowed us to expand MACAC membership in a really important way. We want to have as much representation from as many people as possible across this state, whether you are, a CBO leader, a school counselor, an admissions representative, whatever your role is, your insight matters. And we can only, do our best work addressing the needs of our students and our colleagues if we have that representation. So we are always looking for ways to, be creative in soliciting new members. If you are a new member and you've received one of those welcome kits and packets, I'm sure you've heard from our colleagues on this committee. They also do a really important job of making sure that membership renewal is up to date, that our rosters are up to date. And so if you are interested in ways that we can keep reaching, counselors and admissions representatives where they are and drawing more people into our community, this is a really fantastic committee. And like I said, we're always looking for ways to, what you've noticed is there are a lot of ways that the individual work of these committees overlaps with other committees. We share a lot of common goals, and that's related to professional development as well. So now I'm talking to you as one of the co-chairs of the PD committee, along with my colleague, Kelly from Grand Rapids Catholic Central High School. And we are tasked with running all sorts of programs and initiatives to engage our members, to provide opportunities for your professional growth, to make connections, to further your learning and growth in your careers. And that includes everything from this webinar that we're doing right here. Judy was right earlier. This is the first time we've done a Welcome to MACAC webinar. And this is very much a joint effort between professional development and membership as a way to reach not only folks who are brand new to the organization, but others who want to kind of re-engage or learn more about what we do. But we also run smaller events like MACAC gatherings throughout the state, less formal ways for folks to come together and connect and learn from one another in that social setting. We have a broader webinar series. So in the spring, we've had actually several webinars this spring already in February and March on topics related to financial aid, to kind of best practices for building a college counseling program. All of these recordings live on the MACAC website and any relevant slides. So after today, this recording and the slides will be included on our website as well, so you can always refer back to them. But looking for ways to connect our members with ways that they can keep growing and learning in their own specific roles, to make connections. We are resurrecting a mentorship program that we had years ago and re-envisioned it this year. So again, another way to connect folks who might be earlier career with more, seasoned folks in their roles, to learn from one another, to ask questions if you're thinking about making a move in your career. So a lot of ways to connect people, to learn alongside one another. So if you are interested in those opportunities, we also have signature events that are aimed specifically at career growth in the admissions world, a school counselor summit that we do every year as well. So more targeted programs depending upon kind of which side of the desk you're on, so that you can learn from others about those unique specific challenges or opportunities in those roles. So those are events that we'll have usually later in the year. So the summer is the time that we typically might target. Late spring, summer, fall. Again, this is subject to change each year with those specific programs for admissions and school counseling folks. So I know that was a lot of information that we've shared with you over the last almost hour. My hope is that it has been helpful for you. I'll stop sharing my screen for just a moment. That you've learned a little bit about all the different ways that you can get involved in MACAC. If you have a question, or if you're curious, or if you're not sure but you want to talk to someone, all of our co-chairs information is on our website. Feel free to reach out to us if you want to attend a meeting just to learn a little bit more about what it's like before you jump in. That is absolutely fine. We're here to help. We care deeply about this work that we do, and we're always looking to embrace new faces and ideas and perspectives so that we can just keep getting better in the work that we do. So I'm just taking a quick peek at the chat. It looks like it's all covered, but if anyone has questions, of course, please feel free to come off mic or raise your hand. We want to make sure you get questions answered before we let you go for the day. Let's give a moment.
Hi, I'm Chris. I just posted a question. I didn't know if there was any opportunities to help next week at the conference.
That's a great question, John.
Yes, there is. Chris, if you could put your email in the chat,
Yeah.
I can follow back up with you as soon as possible about different opportunities to support that.
Sounds good. I am putting it
Thank
in
you.
right now. Yeah.
Thank you for the offer. We're really excited for our events next week. Urban Counselor Workshop on Monday, Annual Conference Tuesday and Wednesday. We have folks from all over the state coming. We have record attendance, like John said, which is so thrilling. So I look forward to seeing many, many of you next week, and we hope to hear from you in some capacity soon. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your days and your weeks. And thank you so much for being a part of MACAC. We couldn't do what we do without you. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, Sam.